All right, we're going to do a quick tutorial on the outdoor air calc spreadsheets that we've developed. There are two different kinds. There's the outdoor air calc based on the international codes, and then there is the exhaust air calc also based on the international codes. Right now, these are going to be housed on the F drive, the systems drive, and the retail content, and we'll put them here somewhere in this folder. They might get a number. This folder might get a number just to keep it a little more straightforward. But in the simplified outdoor air calc spreadsheet, and you can see we've got it for the various code iterations that are past or coming, and these tables are built right on the code data. We'll start with exhaust air. It's a little simpler, but essentially we've got some kind of designer notes on here, and it's a semi-automated calculation table. So really, you should only need to enter the space name, the number if you have it. If you don't, you can certainly just hide this column entirely, and it won't hurt anything. The space area or number of water closets and urinals. This is an input by you, and then these here are all the drop-downs, and again, these are straight out of the code based on the different breakdowns and occupancy classifications. This number here pulls from the based on the space type. This is all kind of cataloged in this other tab here where it's pulling that data from. And this, which comes up with this required exhaust air. This is just a pretty straightforward calculation. And this exhaust air provided, this is again a user input, but the total down here is summed automatically for you. It should be pretty straightforward. Again, these tables are straight out of the code. If you do have a jurisdiction that you come across that is unique, feel free to modify these as necessary per that code. I would suggest you make a little note or highlight it or color change it, bold something to indicate that it's not, that you've made a change, just to make sure that change doesn't get perpetuated accidentally, but otherwise it should be pretty straightforward. If you need additional zones, you can certainly add zones as needed. Just click the button as many times as you want and edit the data info in the cells. The outdoor air calc, similar, a few more columns and rows. Again, it's got the space number. If you don't have that, just hide it. And then columns, let's see, B and D through G. So B, I'll get to this in just a second, but B through G here is all user inputs based on what kind of space it is. And again, these are all housed in this other tab. These are all straight out of the code. Again, if you have a jurisdiction that has a different value, feel free to edit it, but make sure maybe even in the title of the spreadsheet itself that it's specific to that jurisdiction. And then make some editing note over here to ensure that it doesn't get perpetuated accidentally in future projects. One note here that is again noted there is if you do have space that you've got fixed seating, like restaurants I run into fairly often where the fixed seating has a different amount of people that would be lower than the code default occupant density, you can edit that number, but just note that it will flag it as a red. This won't affect the plotting in Revit, so you don't have to worry about that changing color. That won't change how it plots at all. But it is just something to be aware of if that gets changed. It can be a kind of a red flag. And the rest of these numbers are all auto-calculating or pulled from the table. The zone effectiveness you can enter. And then here's the totals that it comes up with. That's auto-summed, outdoor air required, and then the total outdoor air provided would be a user input. And back to this column here is the net occupiable area multiplier. you know, in some retail cases, we've got a lot of shelving that's taken up that area, so that's where this comes into play. It directly affects the rest of the calculation downstream because it multiplies this number kind of behind the scenes. But that's what this note is for here. So if we change this, you can see, you know, the downstream effects down here of how that affects, you know, the outdoor air based on that occupiable area. Again, same features. Feel free to add lines as needed to get as many spaces as you want, and hopefully it should help streamline the process a little bit. These are intended for insertion into Revit, and I've got that other tutorial video about how to insert these into Revit using RF tools. It's really, really slick. Gives it a nice clean look. If for some reason you have a unique jurisdiction that you would prefer not to use the spreadsheet, that's fine. This has been essentially duplicated in Revit as a detail group already, and it's also in our AutoCAD template. So in the AutoCAD template, this should be essentially duplicated here in a kind of you know, formatted way, so it looks a little bit cleaner. And in the Excel, this is what it would look like when you insert it using RF tools and the Draft Excel insertion tool. So it comes in nice and clean. You just drag this onto your sheet. If you would prefer or have this is certainly the preferred method is the Excel sheet. But if for some reason you need have unique circumstance, you want just the lines and text in Revit, we also have, if you go to the insert from file, insert views from file, and you browse to the F drive, in our retail content, this retail DA mechanical details also has, and again, you can just ignore those details as it upgrades temporarily. We also have this outdoor air calc in here in essentially lines and text. You can ignore that as well. So if you need to adjust it or have some unique requirement that you're not able to use that spreadsheet, this is all lines and text, but it is a little cumbersome to use trying to get the right line spacing and text. It's not as clean, but it's better than nothing. So that should do it. Feel free to ask me if you have any questions.